Good morning students and welcome to our YouTube channel Eng.Med Modern School. In the previous video we have just started the chapter number 6, that was our earth and the moon. So here first of all we have talked about the moon, that what is the moon first of all. As in the solar system there are the natural satellites, which are there. From that the one is of moon, okay, and there is a special about moon. It doesn't have any light, but what it have, it just reflects the light of the sun. It just reflects the light of the sun, okay. But in that also we have read that one side it is high region, where is high mountains and all the things are there, and in the opposite side, means on the other side there is a blackish thing. So scientists were in confusion that what is it, so they have given the low areas as their name, okay. In that there are many artificial satellites, but the moon is one of the natural satellite of the earth, okay. And the further we have seen that was the moon is special in the solar system. Why it is special? Okay, because all the planets have the different natural satellites like moon, but the moon is only the one which is 1/4 of the planet in which it revolves. Other all the planets have the size of its 1/6 size of its moon or its natural satellite, but the moon is only one which is of 1/4 of the earth. And other, if I just talk about the other, Jupiter, Saturn and other planets, their satellite is less than 1/6, means it is small. But the moon is the only one in the solar system which is 1/4 of its planet. Other all natural satellites are 1/6 or less than 1/6 of its planet, okay students. Moving further, here reading first of all, revising all the things, okay. So on 20 July 1969, Neil Armstrong took a small step forward but called it a giant leap for mankind. This was when he took his first step on the moon. After centuries of fascinating and wondering about the moon, is the moon made up of green cheese? Who is the man on the moon? And so on, human beings had actually food on the moon. The moon, what is the brightest object in our night sky? What is it made up of? Small sample of rocks brought back from the moon shows that they are the same age as the rocks are on the earth. Perhaps the moon was once a part of the earth and broke off and started spinning around the earth. You have learned the escape for Mercury and Venus. The other planets in the solar system have moons, are called satellites or companions that revolves around them. So moon is earth only natural satellite. Its average distance from the earth is 384,400 kilometer. It takes the same time to spin once on its axis as it takes to revolve once around the earth, okay. Then after, so we always see the same side of the moon. That is why human being was wondered what the other side of the moon look like. We now know that the moon's surface is heavily pitted with the craters made with was heated by the meteorites. Scientists first thought that the dark portion of the moon were seas and so on, means there will be seas and something else. Then after, named them Maris. Maria is a Latin word that means sea, so that the dark patch on the moon were named the seas of tranquility, the sea of nectar, and so on. We know now that the dark parts are lowlands or craters, and the brighter parts are highlands or mountains, and there are no sea on the moon, okay. So the moon has some mountain peaks that are more than 600 meter high. The Leibniz mountains rise up to 10 1660 meters. Thus, they are higher than Mount Everest. Scientists now believe that there may be frozen water at the moon's north pole and south pole. The moon has no atmosphere to protect it, so the temperature becomes very high, that is 125 degrees Celsius, and during daytime, and the drops to below freeze point at night. As it has no atmosphere, sound does not carry on the moon. It is a silent world. The moon has no light on its own but reflects the light of the sun. Thought it is much smaller than any of the star we see at night. The moon appears to be big and the brighter object at the night sky because it's up nearest to the earth. Okay, here. Then after, effects of moon on the tides. Here are today's topic, that is effects of the moon. Effects of the moon on tides. Effect of the moon on tides. Here it is given, because of its nearness, the moon has some effect on the earth, which especially on the seas. Here what happens is, the moon has some special gravitation, so which it just affects on the earth, and it affects only at the sea. Okay, then after, the sun, the earth and the moon has a force called the gravitational force, which pulls things towards themselves. If you push a book off a table, it falls on the ground. It does not float on the air. When a ripe fruit breaks off from a tree, it falls on the ground. This is because of Earth's gravity. The moon also pulls the water from Earth's seas by gravitational force. So the sea level rises and falls twice every day. When it rises, we called it high tide, and when it goes down, we called it low tide. Here, when the sea goes up, the sea level when sea level rises, we call it high tide. Second one, that is when sea level goes down, we call it low tide. We call it low tide. So here are the 2 points. It can be asked in fill in the blanks or MCQ, that what it should be when sea level rises up. When the sea level rises up, it is known as the high tide, and when it just goes back to, then it is known as the low tide. Okay students, moving further, here it is. On full moon and new moon days, the sun, the moon and the earth are in a straight line. The combined effect of the sun and the moon pulls the water from the seas, so tides are highest then. They are called the spring tides. Here, on full moon and new moon days, means in the Purnima and in the Amavasya, the sun, the moon and the earth are in a straight line. They are in the straight line. So what happens? the combined effect of the sun and the moon pulls the water from the sea, and so the highest tide is there. So they are called the spring tides. Okay, it can be asked that what is spring tides. So I am just writing on full moon and new moon days, the sun moon and the earth are in a straight line, the combined effect of sun and the moon pulls the water from the sea, so tides are the highest. They are called spring tide. So here on full moon and new moon, means on Purnima and on the Amavasya, what happens? The sun, the moon and the earth are in a straight line, means they will be like this. They will be in the straight line. So what will happen? The combined effect of the sun and the moon pulls the water from the sea. So the tides are the highest. They are called the spring tides. Okay, it can also be asked that what is high tide, what is low tide, and what is spring tide. Then you should have to know that this is high tide, this is low tide, and this is spring tide. Then after, here it is. On the first and the third quarter, the moon, the sun, and the moon, the sun, and the moon are at the right angles to each other. Okay, the sun pulls in one direction, the moon in another direction. So the tides are the lowest, and they are called the nip tides. Here, what they are telling here, this is the spring tide when they are on the straight line. Spring tides, and when they form a right angle like this, a picture is given. You can see here is the sun and earth is over here, and when the moon is at this position and at this position, then there is a minimum tide over there, and that tide is known as nip tides. Nip tides. Okay, it is known as the nip tides. Okay, students, moving further. Here, reading it again, what is nip tide? That is on the first and the third quarter, the moon, quarter of the moon, the sun and the moon are at the right angles to each other. The sun pulls in one direction and the moon pulls in the other direction. So the tides are lowest then. They are called the nip tides. Okay. The sun is much bigger and stronger than the moon, and so it can pull more strongly, but it is always 1.49 million kilometer away. As the moon is rear, the effect of the moon's gravitational pulls are felt more. Here, the moon is near and the sun is far from us as compared to the moon. So, moon's effect will be more over here than the sun. Okay, then after, here the both the figures are given, and now we are just going towards the light and shadow, which is our new topic, that is light and shadow. But before that, let us revise this topic, that is effects of moon on the tides. So what are the effects? First effect, that is high tides, and the second one, that is low tides. So what is high tide and what is low tide? Here, when sea level rises, we call it high tide. When the sea level rises is known as the high tide, and when the sea levels goes down, we call it low tide. Okay, students. And then after, we have seen about the spring tide. That what is spring tide? Here, on full moon and new moon days, means on Purnima and on the Amavasya, the sun, moon and the earth are in a straight line, okay. The combined effect of the sun and the moon pulls the water from the sea. So the tides are the highest, and they are known as, or they are called, spring tides. And then after, here we have seen the nip tide. On the third, here first and on the third, there is minimum effect of it, and the tides are known as the nip tides. Okay, students. Now moving to the light and shadow. Okay. Okay, students, here light and shadow. Light and shadow. So what is light and shadow? So here, if I say that light, we know that what is light. Okay, students. Now moving towards shadow. What is shadow? We have seen. See here, if I just go back, you will just notice that I have a shadow backside at board. See here, I just move further, you can see my shadow is here. Here you can see my hand shadow. Yes, it is like over here only. My hand shadow, you can see. So this is what shadow here. Okay. Then after, here let us see some of the points given. That is, you have learned the moon has no light of its own. The planets in the solar system also have no lights of their own. They all reflect this light of the sun. The sun alone has light of its own in the solar system. Means the light is only have, that is, the sun have its own light. Other all the planets or semi-natural satellites, they just reflect the sun's light. Okay, moving further, that is, when you walk out in the sun during daytime, you have noticed that your constant companion is your shadow. When you are just going on the daytime, you know that your companion means you can see down at the road, you can see your shadow. Then after, this shadow is strange. Sometimes early in the morning or in the evening, it is long, and many times your height at midday, your shadow is so small that you cannot be that short. Okay, sometimes in the middle of the day it is so short that you cannot just feel that it this much small. Then after here, what is here shadow? What is shadow? You know that the earth and the other planets move around the sun in fixed orbit. The sun is a huge glowing mass of the gaseous material. It is the source of light for the earth and the moon. You know how day and night are caused by the earth's rotation. We have day when our part of the earth faces the sun and the night when it is away from the sun. During daytime we get light from the sun, and light has the capacity to pass through something, but there are other things through which light cannot pass. Okay, but here in this video we will just talk about the shadow only, that what is shadow. Here we have seen the any of the planet or in the satellites, natural satellites does not have their own light. They just reflect the light of the sun. They just reflect the light of the sun. Okay, students, so sun only have their own its own light. Okay, other don't any of the planet or any of the natural satellite don't have any their own light. Okay, here first of all they talked about what is shadow. So shadow, if I just say in that book they have said that when you just go outside in the daytime, then you can see your companion, which is your shadow. In evening and the morning the shadow is too long, and at the middle of the day, midday, it is very short. Okay, students, and here we just keep up to here. So in your homework what you just do is, in your homework you just write down high tide, low tides, high tides, low tides, spring tides, and the another that was, yes, nip tides. Nip tides. Okay, students, you just write down that what is high tide, what is low tide, what is spring tide, and what is nip tide. That is your homework. Okay, students, we will meet in the next video. Bye, students.